Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Hello, welcome to another edition of Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson, your host for tonight, along with my co-host,
Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Good evening, everyone.
And welcome to the show. Before we get started, I do want to send out our sincere thoughts and prayers to the families in Uvalde, Texas. Uvalde is not near me, maybe 300 miles from where we are, because Texas is big, but it's a small community. It's not a big city. So it's just mind-boggling. And we just want to send prayers out to the families because God only knows what they're going through right now.
Right. I have a soldier who actually is from Uvalde. He used to talk about Uvalde all the time. So I want to check on him and make sure he doesn't know anybody who was involved in that.
Right. When it's a small town like that, just about everybody's likely to be touched by it. So we have another amazing lineup tonight. We have some great guests, and we also have the book club kickback in the second half of the show with author Mary Monroe and her new book, Empty Vows. So before we get started, I have a few housekeeping notes, and then we have 2 books to give away tonight. In addition to the 3 autographed copies of Empty Vows will be given away during the book club kickback. So first, I want to congratulate again the winners of the Black Authors Matter TV Awards last week. It was a great show.
It was wonderful.
And people who won were so very excited and surprised. And
that's my favorite part, is to see everybody just get so excited when they hear their names.
Yeah, and it's genuine. It's genuine.
And it was good to reconnect with them as well, because even the authors who didn't win, they were able to kind of reintroduce themselves to the audience.
Right.
So, that was a great way of getting some more exposure for them.
Right. And if you want to see who the winners are, we have a video of the winners on the Facebook page with just the winners only on it. And if you want to watch the award show, that's pinned to the top of our Facebook page. So we're going to give away 2 books at the top of the show, and then we're going to get right to our first guest. So the 2 books we have to give away this week is an upcoming book. These are advanced reading copies, an upcoming book by historical fiction author Piper Hughley. And I have to do it so my ring light is not reflecting. So see, first I had the problem with the well, now that I have a green screen out, now I have a ring light problem. So it's always a problem. But anyway, by her own design. This is the new book is coming out in June by author Piper Hughley. And the trivia question to win this book is, the book's main character, Anne, was raised in which southern state? Rhonda's going to post the question. The first one to answer correctly will get this book. The next one is a graphic novel, and it's more for young adult reading, but it's called Swim Team. It's by Johnny Christmas, and very nicely illustrated. And the trivia question to win this book, I think this also comes out next month, I believe. Let me see. No, it's already out. It came out May 17th. So, but this is an advanced reading copy. The question for this one is, what is the name of the elderly occupant of Bree's apartment building? Bree is the main character that helps her with her swimming.
Stephanie already got the answer to the first question. She said it's Alabama.
It is Alabama. That's the right.
How do you do it, woman?
Let's see if somebody else can win this one. But whoever answers first gets to win. We try to be fair. And so, but for the autograph copies, only one person can win one copy. So we're going to be bringing on our first guest. I'll let you know who the lineup is for tonight. We have Troy Johnson. He's the founder of AALBC, which is the African American Literature Book Club. Troy's been around forever in online space. And he also is starting to branch out into publishing. So he's going to come on and talk about that. And then we have Brandon Massey, who's a mystery thriller writer, and he has a new book and another book coming out. So he has one new book and then another one. And then Ray Monroe is going to be on for the book club kickback. So we're welcoming our first guest, Troy Johnson of AALBC. And Troy's been on before, but it's been a while back. It was in 2020. Right. Troy was on during the early time. But it's been a while back. It was in 2020. Now you need to turn off the volume and the sound on your Facebook.
Troy, you causing trouble already. First, you don't want to show us your face.
And you should know you're techie, so you should know you can't play that.
Turn your Facebook down.
It's down, ladies. Facebook is down, and thanks for inviting me. I always enjoy connecting with you all.
Delay. Yeah, it's great. And I was just saying that you were on the show in 2020 when we first started the show. And, you know, you've always been consistent in what you do for African-American literature. You probably have the largest online database of African-American authors. You have their bios, their books. Then you talk about new releases, and you talk about things that are happening in literature, and you talk about events that are happening. And now
about him, what I actually like though about Troy is not only does he have that, but he has an active message board that he actually responds to people. So sometimes you'll see these message boards where people are just throwing things on there and nobody's responding. Troy actually reads these comments and responds to them, and I think that means a lot, especially in this industry.
Yeah, all of those are important subjects, and you know the discussion board that you just mentioned. You know, I keep it alive because lurkers keep it, you know, lurkers being people who read but don't participate. If it wasn't for them, I would have to seriously consider it, but consider dismantling it. But, you know, it goes in cycles, and there are periods where it's super popular and we have some compelling posters and contributors. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, I'm competing against social media, whose algorithm is designed to keep you engaged. I don't have an algorithm like that is designed to keep you engaged. You can only rely on what people actually share and write. And, you know, but there are benefits. I mean, I don't mine your personal data. I don't sell your data. But I think the forums are one of the things on the site that is underutilized, and it can reap tremendous benefits. I mean, you know, in its heyday, authors talked about books, you know, not only authors, but readers. I mean, it was brutally honest, which people really appreciated. And, you know, the culture forum, which we talk about topical subjects, even to this day, is always super popular. But yeah, I'm going to try to figure out ways to increase engagement on that part of the site, because I think it's probably one of the most valuable things. And in fact, some of the most frequently visited pages are comments or conversations that took place a decade ago, you know, so.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, one of the things
you keep them active.
Yeah, so, you know, like the rest of the site, what I try to do is keep, you know, it's an archive. So, you know, for example, Gwen, all of the books that you've published, you know, even if they're out of print, people can come to the site and see what books you've published. And it's a resource in that way. I'd like to think of it as, and indeed, if someone comes to the site and tries to buy a book that's out of print, I'll try to find it, you know, and there are ways of finding books that are actually better than the biggest place to buy books. Because, you know, when you buy direct from the author or the publisher, you're going to get a better deal than going through the machine of, you know, the big A.
True.
You know. But again, Gwen, you've been doing this for as long or longer?
I think we are like 6 months apart in terms of when we went online with books. I think you were first, but but I didn't know you then. I didn't meet you until after we'd been online a year or something like that,
maybe a year, not much longer. I mean,
not much longer, because
we had that collaborative effort where we were promoting authors' books with some other big sites like Mosaic Books, that's unfortunately not around anymore. Dante's site, he had all
Black News is still, and he's got huge numbers on Facebook.
Yeah.
Huge numbers.
So you have to, and he's been around, for
around the same amount of time. He was a very young man starting. He was like
20s,
early 20s,
teens,
maybe late teens.
Yeah.
He still looks like a teenager. He came to the festival. He just like popped in.
Wow.
The year before you came this last time.
The last time I was there.
Was it 2018? Were you there when Eric was there?
Yes. Yeah. Eric. Was that the same year Kim Coles was there?
Yeah.
That was the year, because you were doing the little shout outs, and I did a shout out with you right outside of the
that's right,
the festival.
And I have a video of you, and in fact it's always a great event because I met people that I connected with, and Patrick Oliver was there, who's doing a lot of great things with Black books, and I mean, it's always a great event. I mean, in terms of the people, the highlighted authors in particular, and then the indie authors that you can meet there. It's just it's a great event to not just network, but to really connect with people. And
and you meet people that you would never get a chance to meet. You just wouldn't have the opportunity to meet all those different people in one place.
And in fact, last week I spent a week with Earl Cox, Lynette Califani Cox and Earl Cox. And they were telling me how, Lynette's a superstar author in her own right, but her daughter got to take a picture with Walter Mosley at your event. And so they were excited about that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There were a lot of powerhouses there.
Sure.
Yeah. Sure. That particular year. And that was, I believe, Eric's last public appearance, I believe, or one of his last.
That hit everybody pretty hard. Eric's loss.
It did. And he handled his illness very well.
He did. I didn't expect it. I knew he was had health challenges, and I was actually surprised to see him there. And he was in great spirits, and
he was. He was. So you give us an update on what AALBC is doing, and then I mentioned it earlier. You are starting to spread your wings into publishing.
Yeah, it's so I'm doing a lot, and I'm about to launch I'm months away from launching what I'm going to describe as AALBC 3.0. You might, without getting too technical, AALBC started out in the late 90s, literally 97 is when I started the site, just to code it. It was just a bunch of, think about it as Word documents. It was scores, then hundreds, then thousands of Word documents. And so that was version 1. Version 2 was taking all these disparate documents and pulling them into a database, or what people describe as a content management system. So it's like building your own WordPress. So I created my own database, and so that enabled me to, dynamically generate all types of web pages. So, like a lot of booksellers use canned solutions, so mine is custom. And so I can do a lot of things with my site pretty rapidly that you can't do with an off-the-shelf solution without heavy customization. So that's version 2. Version 3 is I'm going to, working to provide a big facelift to the website. So instead of it looking like maybe it's 10 years old, coming up with something that's a bit more modern looking and revamping the back end. One of the things that I'm considering trying to do is when people come into the site, for example, it will prompt you with a question: what type of books are you looking for? Are you interested in? And if you say science fiction, then the entire website can be recast as if it was, just science fiction authors and books. So, the site, as you know, is curated. I don't have every book ever published on the site, but I have books. I like to think that I have all of the important books, and I'm working to. That's an ongoing thing. It's a lot more difficult today than it was when I started. I used to twiddle my thumbs waiting around for the next Black author's book to come out.
Oh, you don't
Today
have
I
to
can't cover them.
Right.
But still, there are people who say I can't find any children's books with Black authors on them. And I don't think there's ever been more published at any given time certainly by major publishers and absolutely by independent publishers. So, again, I can't cover all the children's books being covered, but the perception is that they're not there, and they are. In fact, there's more Black-owned bookstores today than there's ever been. That's probably a little known fact, but
yeah, I think that is a little known fact, and I think that would be. And I see some people have actually tried to highlight the Black-owned bookstores that are still out there, but there's a perception that they're going away and that they're all closing. And a lot of them have closed, but there are a lot that are still open and are still viable in the community.
Yeah,
And there are a lot of new ones. There are a lot of new ones, and we've had them on the show. We try to just make people aware of what's in their community that they can support.
Right. So I've been maintaining a list of Black-owned bookstores since
Forever.
1998, literally. And what happened, when George Floyd was executed, there was a tremendous amount of support from people all over the country, Black, white, to buy books on anti-racism. Ibrahim Kendi's book, How to Be an Anti-Racist. One day I was sitting at my computer and orders were just pouring in, and it was unprecedented. And so not only did people want to buy those types of books, they want to buy them from Black bookstores.
Right.
And so that June of 2020, I sold more books than I did the entire previous year. And many booksellers, a lot of bookstores had fantastic years, and then coupled with the support provided by bookshop.org, a lot of indie bookstores did fantastically well. You might recall that Black-owned bookstore summit that we had back in March of 2020, right at the beginning of the pandemic, when it might have been around April. And many bookstores like Esselwan in Los Angeles, for example, said, they could probably make it another 2 or 3 months before they had to shut down. So, we went from a period where bookstores, due to all of the restrictions imposed by the COVID pandemic, were looking at closure. I mean, they were really going to go out of business. And that, but George Floyd hit, support for Black booksellers exploded. And not only did those stores survive, they thrived. And I believe, what we're seeing with the increase in bookstores is an effect of that. So people are seeing that there is support for bookstores, Black-owned bookstores in particular. There's an audience out there. And, so even from AOBC's perspective, I know I'm not reaching all of the people that I could potentially reach. So that also is one of the reasons why I'm trying to, really improve the website, improve the user experience, take advantage of newer technologies that I'm not implementing today. So, that's the biggest thing that I'm trying to do now, because at the end of the day, I'm surviving not because I'm the most knowledgeable about books, not because I read the most books, but because of the way I manage the website. I jump through all of Google's SEO hoops. I try to stay current. And I compile a lot of content. I mean, I shoot video if I'm going to go to your event, I'm going to shoot video of authors. So it's a lot of original video. I'm still publishing book reviews. And, that's interestingly a growing business. despite, like initially when I started charging for book reviews, it's been over 10 years now, it's almost like it's an industry standard now. So I charge, that business of what I call sponsored book reviews is growing. Major publishers are participating in that. So that's really helpful.
Can you
Because
talk a bit about that? And the reason why I ask is because there are so many authors out there who say that you should not pay for book reviews, and that it's almost a conflict of interest, because if you're being paid, you're going to automatically give them a good review. What is your view on that?
No, well, Gwen, you might remember my review of Thumper, so and who was brutally honest, and people love that. So no, we're going to give you a fair book review. It's not going to be, it's not a promotional tool. There are professionals that do that. And in fact, we offer two services: a manuscript review, which is just for the author, and for a book review is for the reader. So what we're trying to do is help the reader appreciate what aspects of the books they might enjoy. And the reviewers who write reviews for me are professional writers, and as professional writers, they need to be paid. And the way the web works today is exceedingly difficult to make book reviews profitable. So there was a period of time, when the idea was that, well, book reviews need to be free. Yeah, but I got to pay an editor, I got to pay a reviewer, I got to do work. Reviews
and somebody has to read the book. You have to read
the reviewer does a lot of work.
Yeah, and that requires time.
It absolutely
time
does.
is money. And nothing is free. Those are.
I think that's the part that people forget, because then you hear people say, "Well, we shouldn't be paying to be on people's show," but what you're getting in front of somebody else's audience. They're promoting you throughout the week. You're getting sales from being on this person's platform.
Exactly.
And they don't look at it that way.
Exactly.
Nothing is free. And just from what Ron and
we got Gwen all hyped up now.
You have, because it costs real money.
Yeah.
To have a show, to maintain a show, to just to do the marketing. You have to pay people for graphics. We have to pay people, in fact, on our next outro, I'm having it worked on now. When we do our updated outro, I'm having credits on there because, we have a media manager that loads everything to our podcast. I mean, people have to be paid. We have a video production. We have some really good video work that we get done professionally.
Right.
And, everything costs. So, yeah, and if you are a known quantity, like you got a name that people know, that's one thing. But if you have a name you're hoping people will get to know, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I agree, when you're absolutely right. And Rhonda, the other thing is, people don't balk when Kirkus or some of these other places charge and charge a lot more for a much smaller review. Not to knock on Kirkus, but there are no shortage of authors lining up to get a review from them. So our reviews average about 1,000 words, and it's not. I mean, you go to the homepage and look at the most recently reviewed books, you'll see them there. And my challenge is actually finding the writers to do them, because frankly, the effort required, I'm still not paying enough. I'm not, I'm really, I wish I could pay the writers more.
And they're probably doing it because they believe in the effort and the craft and the importance of it. Yeah. Otherwise, they would charge you more for doing it. And so, everybody's professional work, years, decades of experience and education needs to be respected.
Yeah, I mean, one of my most prolific reviewers now is Robert Fleming. Robert, I don't know how many books Robert has under his belt, but he's been writing longer than our businesses have been around. I mean, he's written anthology. I mean, he's edited anthologies. He's written a number of critically acclaimed books on his own right. And yeah, he supports ALBC because he believes in the mission. And, you know, he's done free reviews for me. I mean, don't tell anybody, but no,
hey.
And I try, you know,
Totally
my
am.
mandate is always to pay writers. So I
Mhm.
try to pay writers something, you know, and, you know, the other thing is when, you know, there were platforms that, you know, run by non-Black, you know, like HuffPost at the, you know, at the time had skilled writers lining up to blog on it, you know, write for free.
Right.
And they were, you know, they would look at Mosaic Books or LBC and say, I can't take that little bit of money, but they would turn around and write for these folks for free. But the reasoning was that they had a large platform, which they did. But when Ariana cashed out and made all that money selling to AOL, and none of these writers were compensated. And, you know,
Right.
and are there articles still on the web? I don't know. But, you know, I don't think I've never deleted an article. And I have about 6,000, well over 5,000, approaching 6,000 profiles of authors, you know, bios, headshots, sometimes video, interviews, book review, all this stuff. And over the last almost 25 years, I've deleted maybe 2. And that was at the request of the author. But no, it's a historical archive. The intent is to keep it up there long past, you know, as long as there's a web. And if the metaverse becomes the new platform, migrate over to the metaverse. But no, that's, you know, that's the goal. You know, I'm not doing it. I would like to get rich doing it, but no, I'm mission driven to celebrate Black culture through books, and you know, is what motivates me. Is why I'm interested in doing it. You know, I mean people
And
like
you have
Dr.
been
Lawson and you and
out there forever. And that's why, you know, people need to know that there are veterans in this business. There's a lot of new people who come and go, that, you know, they do 1 book or 2 books and then they come and go. But there's some people that have been around for years and years and years in this same space, promoting and supporting African-American literature. We only have 3 minutes left, and I want to get to your publishing.
I'm sorry I even used up all that.
No, the time goes by so fast.
It's a great conversation. I mean, I plan on promoting this interview because people need to hear what you just said.
Okay, great. I appreciate it. Yeah, anything that would help uplift AOBC will uplift us all, because we all self-promote, and that's the only way. That's the way the web used to work, you know, before corporations kind of took control over it.
That's true.
But yeah, so I get a lot of requests from authors to publish their books, and I do already engage in a lot of the publishing activities. So I print books. In conjunction with Paul Coates, who printing company, A Good Day to Print. So we work together on printing books. I edit manuscripts with Edit First. That's co-founded with Carol Taylor, who's, you know, just a tremendous writer and editor. You know, so I've done all of these things in addition to creating websites for authors on AOBC and doing all of that. So that, you know, there really wasn't much missing. And, you know, it's just, you know, having an author that I wanted to work with. So Kalisha Buchanan, I don't know if I can post a link on your site to the book that I'm working with. Control C. Do I have chat capability? All right, so I'll plop the link to the book. It's a book entitled Running to Fall. Is a follow-up on her earlier novel. You know, it's just a project from an author who I know personally, and you know, she's critically acclaimed. And so it was almost a no-brainer when she asked if I'd be willing to work with her. So so that's where that came from. You know, I think it's a beautiful cover.
It is a very nice cover.
Yeah, but we're going to treat it like, and she's also, you know, again, willing to work with me. She's not looking for a 6-figure advance from me, because I can't pay that. But so we'll structure the deal in the way that many other small presses do. You know, nothing unusual there. You know, revenue share. But you know, I'm excited about the opportunity. She recognizes as a learning experience. Publishing books is hard. It's not easy at all. You know, many authors they appreciate it once they get started. But I'm going into it knowing that this is going to be, you know, a challenge. But I have enough experience where I believe, you know, I can get the book, you know, into distribution. I can help promote the book, you know, and she's got her own platform. So I think, you know, will we make the New York Times? Who knows? But we should, you know, have respect, you know, do something that's respectable, I think.
So it's a win-win arrangement, and those are the best kind.
Yeah.
And you know, Troy, you and I worked, I forgot who else we were working with, but it was mainly me and you worked on a group advertising thing for a while, where we were, people would get advertising and they would get it on both sites. So we've been working together, and you were one thing I liked about Troy, because a lot of people talk and they don't have follow through, and they're expecting the other person to do all the work, and then they reap the benefits, and it's not two people. You know, you were one of the few that I met during that time period that was solid in terms of giving and not just expecting to get, you know. So I appreciate that about you, and just your commitment. It takes real commitment, because this is being in this space doing what we do. Like you said, it's not to get rich. Because if we wanted to be rich, we wouldn't be doing this.
We do something else. Yeah.
We'd be doing something else.
Well, unfortunately, we are at the end, but I know that there are people who are going to want to reach out to you for your services, or to at least visit your site. So if you want to give us your site, we'll put it into the chat for you.
It's https://albc.com. All right, so it's in the chat. If you just do a search or whatever you're looking for in the site, and hopefully you'll find it. There's a lot of stuff there. And that's the other challenge, is helping people appreciate how much content is on the site. There's countless reviews, well over 1,000 books reviewed over the years, and thousands of authors and tens of thousands of books.
But you're about to get my book pretty soon, because I need a couple of reviews from you.
All right. So you know how to reach me.
I sure do, and I sure will.
All right. Yeah, you could drop the ISBNs you email me ISBNs, and I'll make sure I add them to your page.
Oh, okay, awesome. Thank you.
Right.
Okay, well, Troy, thank you for being on the show. Good luck with your upcoming book. What's the release month? Is it coming out this year or next year? Miss Buchanan's book.
Yeah, the goal initially was this year, but that's subject to change. So it's we were looking at the fall, but it's subject to change. So
okay, well, I'll just check back in periodically to find out. Okay, well, thank you so much for being a guest on the show.
All right, my pleasure. Thank you, ladies.
You have a great evening.
Bye.
Okay, that was Troy Johnson. He is such a wealth of information. He's like an encyclopedia of for African American literature. So we're going to bring on our next guest, who's Brandon Massey. But before we bring him on, did anyone win the second book? We had 2 books we gave away.
I think somebody did.
Stephanie won the first one by her own design by Piper Hughes. Then Swim Team is a graphic novel. It was the second.
Okay, but I don't think this answer is correct now that I'm looking at it. Because the question is, where is it? What is the name of the elderly occupant of Bree's apartment building who helps her with swimming? And the answer that was posted doesn't exactly go with that question. So I think
what was posted? What was the answer?
The Mighty Manatees.
Okay, no, that's not it.
Yeah. I told you.
I need to give you the answers. So if someone can still win a copy of the book, they just have to answer the question correctly. Yes. And now we're bringing on our second guest for tonight, who is Brandon Massey
Hello.
And Brandon is a long time mystery thriller, paranormal. He writes in the suspense.
He writes those stories that scare the mess out of you. We work in psychology together.
Some of them are scary
because of his story.
Some of them are scary. And I'm trying to remember how I became aware of Brandon, but as I recall, you attended either our first or second book festival.
Yeah, I think it was the first one.
Okay, I knew it was either one or two. So that would have been 2008 or 7 or 9, one in there, somewhere in there. And he's been writing books ever since. And I have read just about all of them. So Brandon's writing is very, it's very good as far as telling the story, painting a picture, and developing characters, and keeping you guessing. He does keep you guessing throughout the book as to what will happen next.
Those are the good stories. I don't like a predictable story. I don't want to get to the end and go, I knew it.
Right. Or like sometime in the middle,
you figured it all out.
What's gonna happen.
Right.
How do you do that? Because I've gotten advice on how to build a plot and how to build plot twists, but how do you do that? How do you keep a person guessing throughout?
Well, I always I create an outline for my stories before I start writing, and in those outlines, I really have all the main plot twists already planned out. So,
okay.
Yeah, so not only is it planning the plot twist, like, saying in the middle of the story, so-and-so is going to get this revelation about whatever, but also making sure that you got to play fair with the reader. You got to give enough clues leading up to that. So people, when they get to that twist, they say, oh yeah, it makes sense because he talked about this, that, and that, and that. So now I see how it all came together.
Yeah.
So it's just, trying to leave those breadcrumbs in the course of the story, but then when people see how it all fits together, they're surprised. But it was all kind of there all along. You just didn't know how it would all fit. But so that's really my approach. Just trying to come up with ways to keep people on their toes and, turn the pages and writing good reviews on the websites.
And how many books have you written so far?
So I'm about to publish my 15th novel. That one comes out in July. This book here that we're going to talk about, No Stone Unturned, this one came out in January. So this was number 14. Published books. Now, mind you, I've actually written more than 15 books, but I haven't published all of them. I've got several books that are almost like half done, and then one that's actually completely a full draft written, but for different reasons I haven't published it. And that's pretty common. It's like kind of like with when we heard about with Prince, where he had this vault of so-called vault of thousands of unreleased songs that after he passed, his estate started releasing some of this music. The thing is that if you're an artist, a writer, a musician, whatever it may be, you're basically always creating. You're always writing stuff down. And some of it you'll publish, you'll release. Some of it you may not. It just depends on how things go. But yeah, I just always try to stay busy. I just finished the book that comes out in July, and I told myself I would take a little bit of time off, but it's actually kind of tough because I'm just so
when the writing bug bites you and not let go.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard for me to relax. And I feel like maybe I need to go back and start on something I left off with or start something new. But I'm trying to just take a little time and gather my energy up again. So, but yeah, I'm always working on something pretty much.
Wonderful.
Now, No Stone Unturned, what's the and I have my copy. It's behind my green screen, but I would put it out. But you have your copy there.
Yeah.
So I haven't started reading it because I had to finish 2 other books. I always have, and I have to still find time to write my own stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So in between. So, but what's the plot, general storyline for that?
No Stone Unturned is it's a thriller. So it's not a supernatural story. I mean, some of my stories are more, vampires, ghosts, whatever. This is a story that is really like this could really happen type story. So it's about a man, a devoted husband and father named Eric Newton. And he discovers through sort of DNA testing site, like sort of like Ancestry, that he actually has a 20-year-old daughter that he never knew existed. And when he finds this out, his world is just rocked because he's somebody who's very responsible, very devoted to his wife, devoted to his younger children that he has. So this is just comes as a complete shock. And this young lady, her name is Destiny. So Eric is determined to build a relationship with her to try to make up for all that 20 years of time where he was not a part of her life. So soon after they connect and start getting to know each other, Destiny vanishes without a trace. And he's floored by this because he thinks, oh my God, this young lady has just come in, we found each other and now she's gone. I got to do whatever I can to see we'll find out what happened to her. Where is she? What's happening? Is she okay? Is she in trouble? He knew that she was involved with some shady people, so he thinks that she's probably in some type of trouble. And he decides he has to make sure that she's okay. So he really launches this search to find her, to see that she's safe. But in the process of doing that, he has to really come to terms with some buried skeletons in his own past. So it's all really tied. It's sort of like a story that deals with secrets in the past, but also things going on in the present. So it's all tied together. And what was interesting about his character is he was like your prototypical nice guy, like the guy who just someone you can always rely on. So, and in the course of the story, he just keeps getting knocked down various times by various people. And it was really writing about somebody who in the process of this story just becomes a heroic figure. And it's almost inspiring in a way, just to see like, gosh, he's gotten the shit kicked out of him and he still keeps getting up. He's still coming back to try to get to the bottom of things. So I wanted to write about somebody like that, a strong Black man with his heart in the right place who is determined, to get to the truth and to really save, every member of his family. So.
Well, it's good that you're writing about a strong, positive Black man, because right. I think we get used to seeing our Black men in a negative light. They might be successful, but they're cheaters, or they're the villain, they're the killer. It's always something. So it's good to see our Black men in a positive light in books, and then it's also good to see Black men creating Black men.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. What I always try to do. In all of my books, like if I have a story where, let's say, the Black man is the villain, okay, I also will create another character who really just balances that out. So you'll have the villain brother, the bad brother, and then on the other hand, you got the good guy, because I just want to show that balance of the characters, because that's real life.
Right.
We're not all good, we're not all bad, but it's important to me. The same thing if I'm writing about a Black woman,
right,
who's the villainess for whatever of the story.
Is that like an authoress? That's what
I still say there's no such word as authoress, but somebody looked it up and said it's real.
Yeah, it is. But I like to
I
create
think it's
that.
unnecessary,
Yeah.
but anyway.
Yeah. So I got to create that opposite character to balance things out. And I always try to do that. I just think it gives the reader a full picture of who we are. You know what I mean? So it's just I try to do with everything I've done. I try. That's important for me to do.
Well, it sounds like your typical writing for you, which means it's a page turner, and there's lots of depth there. I can't remember one book of yours that I read that wasn't a page turner, and that includes your thickest book, Dark Corner, which I think was 500 pages, but I couldn't put it down. That's still in my top 20 of all time. But you had another book. Of your books that you've written, I'm going to tell you the three that stand out in my mind. Dark Corner, of course. For me, this is just for me, you know.
Sure.
Everybody has different things they like. Don't Ever Tell. I thought that book was well written, and you had, and it didn't have anything to do with paranormal or anything. It was just look at people, but you wrote those crooks, you wrote this plot, it was great. And Covenant.
Really?
Covenant reminded me of the path that some people take when they follow somebody.
Yes.
And they don't think. They turn off their own brain and start following people. And that's not unrealistic. What you wrote was very realistic. So those are the three that stand out. I liked all the ones I've read. I don't know if I read the anthology. I know you win at least one anthology.
Yeah, I've done a few.
I don't remember if I read the anthology ones, but
nobody reads the anthologies, so you're good. Nobody reads those. I always hear about them. It's funny. I always get emails from writers asking me, "Are you going to edit another anthology? Are you going to do another collection?" I'm like, people don't read those. People want a full, book.
I think that was true a while ago, but people now, because more people are wanting to read shorter stories because they just don't have the they don't have the patience for a book this thick anymore.
Now, whose book is that?
Oh, this is mine.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I think too, for the genre you're in, Brandon, I think people want more of a long story. I think it depends on the type of story, the genre. For the mystery thriller, that whole category, I think people want a full-length book. But I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know. I think there's a lot of the anthologies that are coming out now are more personal stories.
Right.
They're like personal experiences. Or now I don't know if that's the case for all the stories in the New Renaissance.
No, all of the stories in the New Renaissance are fiction. I wanted to create a fiction anthology, and then, but you're right. A lot of anthologies that we're seeing now are basically nonfiction.
Right.
So you're not seeing as many collections of fiction stories anymore, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to do mine the way that I did.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So
Brandon, you and I were in, this was a long time ago, probably almost 20 years ago, but I think it was called Second Chance. No, not Second Chances, Crimes of Passion.
Oh.
Yeah, I believe we were in that anthology together. This was like years and years ago.
I have to go see if I can find that one.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah. I do anthologies every now and then. I actually did a podcast show recently called Nightlight, where it's Black African-American horror stories. So that was cool. That was different. Where I actually had a short story I had written, hadn't published it anywhere. Someone asked me to do this podcast. They liked the story, so they had somebody come on and narrate it. So that was pretty cool. But
Oh, okay.
but yeah, I mostly write books, like, we were talking about the length of the book. This book is one of my shorter books, actually. It's
Yeah, I
only,
noticed that when I got my copy,
yeah,
I said, well, this one's not that long, so I can probably
yeah,
read it in a day or two,
yeah,
because I know the story's gonna move.
yeah. It's 213 pages, so it's
Yeah,
one of
that's,
the shortest things I've written in a while.
yeah.
Um, Normally, well, so the difference really is, when I was with Kensington Publishing, back in the day, they had a contractual term statement a clause where every book had to be at least 90,000 words. So if you turned in a book that was shorter than that, they would say like, hey, you gotta pump this up. You gotta add some more material. But since I've been publishing independently, I can just make them however long I want. I don't have to pad the story to meet
Right.
some predetermined length. It's just, story is what it is.
Right.
Like, I was kind of worried with this, with No Stone Unturned, because I was thinking, well, it's just 60,000 words. I need to make it longer, but then I'm like, I can't think of how to make it longer. So it is what it is.
What else am I supposed to make him do?
Yeah, and it's better to have a short story that's tight
Yeah.
than to have a long book with a whole bunch of extra
Right.
words.
Well, you're
and
saying that,
Exactly.
okay, get on
That
with it. Yeah.
irritates me when I read a book and it says filler, or it's just stuff that who cares? Like,
Right.
everything doesn't have to be described. Not everything,
Exactly.
So I was reading this one, and this book wasn't even that long, but everything was described. I quit reading, and I will quit. Some people will, if they start a book, they feel like they have to finish it, or
I'm one of those people. I try to finish a book. It may be hard. It may take me a while, but I'm gonna get through it.
I will put a book down. If the book is not, I got better things to do. And I got a ton of books on my to be read shelf. So if you don't get me by like page 50 or 60 in there, I'll give that to you. But if you're not like making sense or making it interesting by then, it's probably going to be put down. And I don't normally go back if I put a book down because it was boring. I might put a book down because I have another book that I have to read by a certain time, and then I'll go back to it. But if I put it down because it was boring, it's not likely that I will pick it back up. But different people have different things they do, because I know a lot of people, if they start a book, they feel like they have to finish it.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that camp. And sometimes I'll be reading a book for like 3 months. Like, I'm still reading it. Like, I'm not ever gonna finish
this book.
Right. Yeah, I have a hard time just leaving something like that unfinished. I feel like maybe it's gonna get good at some point.
Okay, if you are reading it, this is what I want to know from you and Rhonda. Okay, if you're reading the book and it takes you 3 months, are you reading other books and then picking that up, or are you just letting that one book occupy 3 months of your time?
Sometimes I might be reading 2 or 3 books. If the book is not catching my attention, I want to finish it, but I might leave it alone for a while and come back to it later. And then when I come back to it, I don't feel like I've missed anything, but I just want to get through the book.
Yep.
So do you remember the plot, like the storyline? Once you once you read 3 or 4 more books, the book that you were reading, you can't remember all the details of the plot.
Well, if it's dragging enough, you're not missing anything, and you'll catch back on.
I'm trying to figure out how it works, because that's not something I'm going to do. But I just wonder, the process that people have when they do that. So Brandon, what's your new book that's coming out in July? I saw the cover online today. I think
the X's.
The X's.
I like that cover.
Yeah, so that looks like, and you got the X there with the scratch through the page, which is like a visual portrayal of what the story could be about.
Yeah, this one, I had a lot of fun with this one. So it'll be out July 8th. And
Okay.
it's another thriller. It's a this could really happen type thriller. Basically deals with a man who was married. So the story starts 7 years ago. He's married to his name's Austin. His wife at the time is Naomi. She is extremely jealous, combustible personality type person. So anyway, she accuses him of cheating. They have this big fight. She nearly stabs him to death.
Mm.
She goes to prison for this. They have a 5-year-old son at the time. So Austin divorces her while she's in prison. And then he moves with his son to Atlanta and starts his own business. He's an accountant, so he starts his own accounting business. And in time, he meets a new woman named Brooke. They get married. Brooke is pregnant at the time the story opens in the present day. But then shortly after, as they're getting close to her giving birth, Naomi is released from prison. And in her mind, she never accepted the divorce. She's pissed off because she hasn't seen her son, their son, who's now 12 years old. So she decides she's going to reunite their family no matter what. Now, what was fun about this book is it's not just writing about her sociopathic personality. The other members of her family are just as twisted as she is. So you got the father, mother, and her older sister. So they are the exes, the ex-in-laws, and as well as her in the title of the book. So basically, this whole team, this wacky, crazy family, is coming after Austin and his new family to basically kind of settle some scores, so to speak. So it's really fast paced, beginning to end. I mean, literally on the first page, first sentence, the story takes off. Lots of twists. So I'm excited about it. I wanted to. I got a new cover designer for this book just to kind of switch things up, do things a little differently. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully y'all check it out and we can talk about it later on.
Sounds like
it sounds like another book that I'm going to have on my to be read shelf, but we'll have read. See, it sounds like one of the books that I'm going to have to put in front of another book, whatever I'm reading, because I have an order that I'm thinking I'm going to read in, but I don't always stick to it because sometimes a new book will capture my attention and then I decide to make a switch. But I'm just excited that there's so many great authors writing great books now.
So many.
More than ever before. Some of them are self-published, some of them are some of the self-published books are just as good or better than the traditionally published books. I've read some great material. So I'm excited about that. Now, do you write full-time?
Not currently. I did for a while, and then I'd say back in 2008 I went back to the corporate jobs. Actually works it works perfectly because I work remotely for my day job.
Okay.
And I was doing that before the pandemic. Like I've been working remotely for over 10 years. So so it works perfectly. I literally just do my writing, my work in the morning. And then, a couple hours later, I'll log on to my, the day job right here in my office. So it just works out better. What's interesting is so many people have this fantasy about being a full-time writer. Oh, I want to write full-time. I want to do this and that. But honestly, it's not like I write pretty much just as much now that I did when I was writing full-time, because it's just all about managing the time and your schedule, So it works out, just having peace of mind, not being worried about, oh, if this book doesn't sell, then what am I going to do? There's always that pressure before when I was writing full time of feeling like,
Right.
if something didn't work, you feel like you couldn't take risk because if
Mhm.
something doesn't work, then, oh, I guess I'm not going to get another contract and I'll be on the street. So it's just peace of mind. It's nice to have a health insurance.
Yeah, I was gonna say some of the benefits might be
Exactly.
helpful, and a 401k.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that,
Exactly. When you're totally self-employed, no one's giving you anything,
Nope.
so you gotta hustle it
Nope.
all up. So, it's pros and cons.
It
Pros
is.
and cons.
It is. And people have to do what works for them.
Exactly.
Well, we are at the end of our time. And so
Well, before you go though, I don't think we put your website in the chat for people to reach out to you and support your books.
Okay, let me find that. It's Brandon Massey.
There it is. Okay.
okay, is your name.com.
Yep.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Brandon, and continued success
you
with
very
your
much.
writing. I love your work and
Thank you.
recommend it to people often. And if you like the mystery, thriller, paranormal, he writes all three. Suspense, he writes all of them. So not all in one book, but and then he'll have some historical stuff in him too.
Much.
So he does a lot, and all the writing is good. I haven't read a bad book by Brandon yet. So anyway, thank you again, Brandon, for being a guest on Black Authors Matter TV. And we'll have you back in the future. Probably not this year, but maybe next year sometime.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Look forward to it.
All right.
Okay.
Thank
Y'all
you.
take care.
Thank you, Brandon.
All right. Okay.
Good night. Okay, so I believe someone won the second book.
Yeah, I believe it was Mary Evans. She said she was the first person to say it.
Right, she was the first person who gave the correct answer for swim team, and the answer was ETA, E-T-T-A. So Mary, you won this one, and your book will be on its way to you. As you know, from having you and Stephanie having won multiple books, which is great. You all,
y'all have a whole library.
You all put
library courtesy of Black Authors Matter TV.
Yeah. So now we're going to have our book club kickback with author Mary Monroe, and I'm going to bring her on first on the screen. But we are discussing her book Empty Vows, and it is a sequel to Mrs. Wiggins. And it is a true sequel because it picks up where Mrs. Wiggins left off. So we have several book clubs represented, and I am going to admit them, but I'm going to ask them to say what book club they're with because I don't have my list handy.
Okay, while we're bringing the book clubs in, I just want to address a question that came up a little earlier, and I'm going to do it very quickly while the book clubs are getting connected.
Okay.
But, one of our regular viewers, Curtis Kojo, asked, why do authors need, he said previews, but I'm sure he meant reviews. And it's just like anything. When you buy something from the store, when you go on Amazon, and let's say you want to buy a TV from Amazon, you always go to the reviews to see what other people thought of it. It's the same thing when you have a book, or when you're looking for a book. Readers want to know if other people thought that this was a good book, or what did other people think, because often that's what's going to drive them to purchase the book. So it's very valuable to have reviews of your book, which is why we often ask people who watch the authors on this show, please go out and support them, not just buy the book, but leave a review, because that's going to help drive sales and then get that author to that status that they're trying to get. That's a great way to support an author without spending a whole lot of money. Just write a review.
And write an honest review. And
yes,
also don't use the reviews to trash the author. Some people
Yeah, there are
don't do
some
that.
people who do
Don't do that. That's not helpful. And
Not at
if you have a personal beef or just criticism, reach out to the author personally and voice your criticism instead of giving them a 1 star. But at any rate, we are ready to start our book club kickback with Mary Monroe. And we are so excited to have Mary on the show. Mary is a prolific writer, and she's been writing. She's going to tell us how long she's been writing. But because I know I've been reading her work from day one when she was doing God Don't Like Ugly and all the ugly books.
Yeah, ugly books. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me?
We can hear you, but we can barely see you.
But yeah, put your camera,
Yeah.
move your laptop. If you're on a laptop, just
There you go.
There you go. So we can
Much
see.
better.
Oh, this is a new computer, so I'm getting used to it.
Oh, okay. I do understand.
Okay.
So we have our book clubs online with us, and we're going to ask them to unmute and just say which book club you're with before we get started with the discussion.
I'm Roy Slade Morton, and I'm from the Sweet Sisters Book Club in Upper Marlboro, Maryland.
Oh, you're right down the street, Royce.
Yep.
And good evening. This is Shayna Plummer, also a member of the Sweet Soul Sisters Book Club from Beltsville, Maryland.
Oh, you're right down the street too. I'm at the
Hi, I'm Jackie Lawson with the Sweet Soul Sisters Book Club.
Hello.
And I'm in Washington, D.C.
You're down the street too.
Yeah, girl, just down the street. You know how we say we down the street.
I'm Angie Wood. I'm with the Sweet Soul Sisters Book Club and with another book club called United Sisters Book Club. And I'm in Clinton, Maryland.
What is going on with Maryland and DC today?
We in the house.
Just come on by. Just come on by.
We in the house.
Okay, who else is on?
This is LaWanda Durso Johnson. I'm with Black Pearls Keeping It Real, located in Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
Hi, this is Kenya Shields. I'm with Sister Friends Book Club in Houston.
Okay, Sister Friends. My friend
Charmaine.
Jermaine. I was thinking Charlotte. Charmaine, is she gonna be on?
I think so. I just sent a reminder. So
Okay.
I think she'll be on.
Charmaine Renee. She was on, we had her on the show representing the book club. I think it was early on, like in 2020 though.
I remember that.
Okay, so who are we missing that hasn't talked yet? Which book club? Vivian Lewis, did you say anything? No. Are we missing somebody who didn't say, did everybody announce themselves?
Did you hear me, Vivian?
No.
Okay, Vivian Lewis, Dallas, Driven Divas.
Okay, the Driven Divas. Okay. All right. Okay. So everybody has announced their clubs. All the clubs have been announced. Okay, so we can get into our discussion of Empty Vows.
Empty Vows.
And as I said, it is a sequel to Mrs. Wiggins. And at the end of our discussion, we have 3 autographed copies of Empty Vows to give away. And we always give away our books based on trivia questions about the storyline of the book that we asked that required the person to have read the book, because they're not questions or answers that can be easily Googled. So first we want to just say a little bit, have Mary talk about what the general storyline about Empty Vows is.
Okay, Empty Vows picks up where Mrs. Wiggins ends. And a lot of people who read Mrs. Wiggins thought that was the end of the story. But this is a 3-part story. Mrs. Wiggins is part 1. Empty Vows is part 2, where the husband, the widower, is telling his story and also introducing the new Mrs. Wiggins. And so he's keeping up his act, he's gay, and he wants to keep it hidden. So what he thinks he needs is a new wife. So basically it's about him and this new woman getting together and how he's duping her, but she's duping him too. They're both leading double lives.
Right.
It's gonna lead to a lot of drama, believe me.
All right now.
Yeah, well, we know this is a discussion about the plot, so we can have spoilers on here. And if people don't want to know what happens, they can mute certain parts or whatever. But this whole thing is to discuss the book and the plot of the book and how the storyline goes. So I read the book. I enjoyed it. It in some ways the plot is unbelievable, but then in other ways it's plausible. So
yeah, anything. Truth is stranger than fiction.
Now I was one, and book club members, feel free to chime in anytime with questions or whatever. But I wondered if, do you know somebody who did this, or was this based on your imagination?
Well, mostly it's my imagination. I know people like the characters in the book. All of my characters in all of my books are composites of people I know. But I have to put them in a story that fits their personality. And I did know people like Hubert, and I did know people like Maggie, and I do know people like the current wife, the current Mrs. Wiggins, Jessie. And so I just built a story around it.
Oh, okay. Because it was really the lengths that they both went to keep the secret. And what I thought the laugh out loud moments for me were some of the words you used, the descriptions you used about them having, prayed instead of fixing whatever or stop lying. Then they would say, well, we're going to kneel and pray.
Well, that's what some people do.
That's the way you avoid. That's the way you avoid lying. You just divert the attention.
Yeah. One of my comments was, and they were always just God-fearing. We're good God-fearing people. Like, okay.
Right. God-fearing people. Yes, no, they don't do anything because they God-fearing.
God-fearing, right.
Prayer takes care of everything for the God-fearing people.
Right. And that's familiar with the Southern background, especially in the small country town. You could be the biggest devil in the world and still be in the church and still be respected, especially if we had a preacher that had 4 or 5 girlfriends, and out doing all kinds of stuff, but he was still looked upon as a very influential and important person in our community, because a lot people use the Bible to suit their needs. That's the bottom line. They use religion and the Bible, whatever works for them. Oh, let me throw this in there. So
you see that a lot now with a lot of our modern preachers. They don't have to be in small country towns. They can be in large metropolises. And if they're popular enough, people will overlook the fact that they have 2 girlfriends and a wife.
Oh yeah,
that's true. That is so true.
Or as in the case, and I hope, well, it's nobody on here that is in Houston, but I'm not going to name any names. But as it was the case with the pastor here, had 2 or 3 boyfriends.
What?
In the among the deacons and the people at the church. So, and people were still attending. That's what I don't understand. And this is like kind of related to the book, but I don't understand that once you find out the pastor has just done some god awful things, why are you still there? I mean, and then most of the time the pastor doesn't repent. He doesn't ask for forgiveness. He just moves on, like it's nothing.
Some people just believe what they want to believe. And I don't want to say that they're brainwashed, but if they don't want to accept it, they're in denial on some level. And some people will turn a blind eye to, if they like the person and they're getting what they need out of the relationship with that person, they don't care. They overlook all that. And they say, well, I'm gonna pray for that person. Or, they'll say something like that. But some people just don't care.
And it's people who just follow people blindly. I mean, I think about a lot of things that people, and I think about Jim Jones,
Good example.
And I'm telling you, I mean, it would be so many people today that would still, follow somebody out and, drink that Kool-Aid.
Oh, yeah. Even to this day, you're
today,
right.
yeah.
And they know he was a devil. I mean, it didn't just start when he, forced them to go to school. He had been a devil from when he was still in San Francisco. I had a friend who had cousins who started going to his church. This was 3 years before he went down to South America. They knew he was the devil, and they still followed.
Yeah.
So
and he made the members sign over their government checks to them.
Yeah, I at the time I was working for Shane, I was working for OPM.
Okay.
I was working for OPM in annuity services back then. And I remember, it was hard. It was heartbreaking, some of the families was trying to get their family members not to do that. And I remember that. That must have been like 1980, 81 or something. And it was something. It was something, and then a lot of the people that died out there, and then their next of kin, trying to get their benefits and stuff. It was something. But I was working at OPM at the time that event happened.
And most of the people were Black.
Most of them were Black.
That went to Guyana with him, and they just, I don't know what he had, but if someone is not living, and no one is perfect, no human is perfect, but when you are blatantly sinning, no regret, then you should not be leading the people. I mean, that's biblical. You should not be leading the people.
Put some of the blame on the people. Because if you got a preacher telling you to sign over your Social Security checks to me, and then telling the women, oh, God said you should have sex with me and all that, something is wrong.
Well, no, I do blame the people, but I'm saying from the standpoint of the person in the ministry, the minister, they need to step down until they get their stuff together, because you should not be leading the people.
That's also a leadership and limelight thing. I mean, you might know that this is going on, but you don't want to leave. You don't want to leave the leadership and the limelight, because you may be getting. You may have just gotten caught basically in your own hype. Yeah, you're getting benefits, and what you want to do is try to justify everything that you're doing. Oh, I'm doing this because this happened, or I'm doing that because that. Yeah, that's what they do.
And so the characters in my book, even though they were doing all this dirt, doing all this, they were still sitting up in church, still praying.
Because I don't know, Miss Mary, how many more times he could have taken that road to get some embalming fluid. I don't know.
He always had other excuses. It wasn't just embalming.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, he on the road again to get embalming fluid.
I thought it was comical, the mama and daddy, his mother and father. They were very pious people, but they were always in church or Bible study, and it seems like everybody in the town went to the church or was somehow connected to the church.
Right.
But they weren't stupid, because when she said she was pregnant, they said already or something.
Well, yeah, already.
Yeah, she had lie after lie after lie.
She literally drugged him. And made him think he raped her.
That's why I say he duped her. He got her duped into thinking that he can't have sex because he was traumatized.
Right.
And
then she traumatized him, so he was ready. So he
I'm gonna tell you what was really funny to me about the book throughout the whole book is about how wonderful and saintly and pious Maggie was, like the salt of the earth. You know, when she did a solo, I laughed out loud when Jessie said she did a solo at Orville's funeral.
Y'all see Maggie.
You know, that's why
it wouldn't hurt a fly. I'm like,
was
you
so
know,
God-fearing.
she done killed almost everybody in the hole.
But you know, that's why I thought it was important for people to read Mrs. Wiggins first, because
it was.
And didn't know what had preceded it.
Oh my God, because if you didn't, you would have thought that Maggie was just the, you know, the soul of earth.
Right.
But I think reading Mrs. Wiggins first, in my opinion, it set me up because I was expecting the Mrs. Wiggins in the second part does the same juice, the same scenarios and everything. And I was like, wait a minute. Okay, you know, I mean, because our book club, we read Mrs. Wiggins. And when I got done reading that one, I was calling my sister's name. I was calling everybody, you got to read this book.
Yeah, I had my sister read it too.
Off the chain.
Me too. I passed it to my sister. That was
I did. I had my sister
to
read
me,
it.
Mrs. Wiggins was like way high up there. And then when I read this one, I was like, and then they said it was another one. I said, oh, so that's going to bring everything together.
That's going to pull everything together.
Yeah, because Miss Wiggins was off the chain, but with this one, I was like,
well, see, this second book is a setup, because everybody was saying, well, how come nobody found out about the people? How were they going to find out? Maggie didn't tell anybody.
She did.
And one of my editors said, well, maybe you should reveal that somebody knew Maggie was killing people. And I said, now who's gonna believe that?
Right. I mean, even Jessie said when she thought about she had some thoughts about killing her husband. She still had thoughts about killing Orville, and Maggie told her to pray about it.
Right. And the thing is, Maggie did all this in secret. Nobody
knew. Yeah, nobody knew she did it. Yeah.
Throw it into the story and have it be believable.
Yeah.
But like I said, book 3 is gonna be real explosive. Everything's gonna come together. And people are saying, I did a Zoom meeting the other day, and they were saying, well, we need to know who was killing all the women. And I said, well, if you want to know, you're gonna read book 3. I'm not gonna tell you.
I know. I already know.
Well, I have an idea.
We have our suspicions.
No, don't tell anybody, because
I ain't gonna tell nobody. But I got a feeling. I know who. I got a feeling I know who it is.
We have our suspicions.
Yeah, I ain't gonna talk. I ain't gonna say that.
I'd be surprised if it's not who we think it is.
Right.
Then y'all gonna be like, well, damn, I didn't see that coming.
Well, then that'll be good. That'll be good. Yeah. I mean, I really enjoyed Mrs. Wiggins because she was just off the chain.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a little harder. I have to be honest. It was funny for me because the whole undertow was about how wonderful Maggie was, and then how deceiving these two was. They was like just grifting on each other, right? He don't know that she doing him, and when she drugged him and made him think that he raped her. And
I know, but she drugged him, and then he didn't know. And he was thinking he had never slept with a woman.
Right.
And so this was his first time.
And then when she got pregnant for real, she said, well, I can't drug him again.
And she went to such extensive lengths with her lies.
She lied. She had no cut with the way she lied.
Spread the chicken blood on the floor. I was like,
that was hilarious.
I was like, this chick is she's something else. Yeah. But I remember her from the first book, and when Maggie was talking about how she met her neighbor, and she was a gossip. She knew everybody's business, but it was something about her that Maggie liked anyway. But this time she was like, wow, this she is something else. She's something else. But what I really thought, I thought that the way I thought was going to happen was I thought that Blondine was going to find out his secret. When I thought that's why he, but because I thought she had happened on him somewhere and found out his secret. I didn't know she just went crazy because she just wanted him.
Well, she was just
And
crazy.
then she
in
was
general.
mad. She was mad because she knew that Jesse was sleeping with her boyfriend too. You know, she knew about that too. Yeah.
But she couldn't find out about him because, like I said, he's keeping a secret. That's why he goes out of town to be with women. Nothing in town, even though small
But when
town.
Conway took Jesse to that moonshiners.
Oh my goodness.
The moonshiners place, and they paid 25 cents for every 15 minutes or something. And he gave the guy $1 so that
they had a whole hour.
And she said, "Don't ever bring me back
Right,
here
but
again."
she did it. She did it, and then afterwards she gonna say, "Don't ever bring me back here again."
Who knows how many bed bugs or mice or whatever was in there. They did have clean sheets, but the mattress wasn't clean. So
But see, back then, Black people, because somebody said, well, why didn't they just go to a Holiday Inn?
Well, they couldn't do that.
They couldn't do that.
And against the law. In the town that I'm from, we had 2 motels, and one would let Black folks come in on certain days. The other one, you know, they were a little more liberal, but this and that. That's the way it was. So sometimes people went to moonshiners' houses or to other people's houses, or some people went out in the cornfield, or they went wherever they could. You know, it wasn't that simple to go to. I don't think the Holiday Inn was even around back in then. Those days.
Yeah, she said, "Don't ever bring me back here again."
Don't bring me back here.
Well,
and I laughed because I said,
you
didn't get indignant until after you got satisfied.
That was the point. You know, she had to fake it and then be like, catch your attitude. Don't ever bring me back here. Go back. Go back. She might not tell nobody, but she go back.
And didn't she ran into somebody who was
she
also
did.
married with somebody else's husband.
Yeah, right.
On the way in, she saw it. She was hoping they didn't see her. But then they ended up, the blondine or Yolanda told her somebody saw her there. Somebody told her that somebody saw her. Friends saw her there at the place. And then now it was a good thing back then in the time that it was set in that they didn't have the modern day crime solving techniques and
because I'm telling you, the way they got when he said when the book started and it was back to right after Maggie was still alive. She didn't know that Claude was dead. And so then when he said he found her, he took Claude, and he said when he came back and brought her back, and they were looking at him funny because he done came back with another body so soon, right?
Yeah.
Gracious. Oh my God. Oh my God.
That wouldn't work today, you know. I mean,
right. Well, the chicken blood, they would have done DNA and figured out that was chicken blood or not.
Yeah, you couldn't get away with that today. I don't think.
But back then, you know, a lot of people probably killed people and got away with it.
Oh, they did.
People still killing.
And you know,
people
they didn't investigate crimes in the Black neighborhood.
No, they didn't.
Unless you killed a white person.
They still not.
Because you said back then they still doing the same thing now. Some of you, you have so many innocent people behind bars that didn't do the crime.
Oh, that's right. Every time you turn on the TV, you know, and they don't even investigate thoroughly the way they do with white folks. You know,
nope, they don't.
That's still going on today, to this day.
Yeah, and the way they do overkill when it's a missing white female, it's like the whole country has to stop. Because one person is missing when you know we can't even get an honorable mention on the evening news when it's one of our people missing. So,
not at all.
And a lot of people don't even know about all the Black women, all the Native American women, all the Hispanic women who have disappeared or died under mysterious foul play.
Yeah,
and you hear about it just in passing, that's it. But when it's a white woman, it's on every news station, it's all over People magazine, it covers it. And that's what makes me, I mean, I'm sorry for the women that get killed.
But it's clearly imbalanced, different standards.
You know? Well, back in the day in the South, Black people got killed. They would one of my mother's uncles got killed. All the police did was they came out to the house, asked a few questions, wrote a few things on a notepad, and that was it.
Yeah.
That was it. That was the investigation.
Yeah.
But you know, it getting back. I mean, but we have some creative ways to get rid of people, don't we?
Oh yeah.
The gumbo.
They were missing that gumbo too, wasn't they?
They were missing that gumbo. Yeah, they were. Maggie was when you introduced Maggie.
I like Maggie
in the first book.
That was my girl.
The first time she did it, it was like she had to do it. You know, it was almost like she was compelled to do it. Then after that, she got good at it, and she was like dropping, dropping people left and right.
Left and right.
The first cut is the deepest.
Right, and I was
Get
thinking
past that you all right.
I was thinking, and I remember the end of Mrs. Wiggins, and when I was told that, the second book was out, I said, I wonder if there's any gumbo left in the refrigerator.
Oh yeah, so Hubert could eat it, but if that was the case, then there wouldn't be no story, right?
No, not for him to eat it, but somebody coming over and he'd be like, no, I'm not gonna eat. I don't want to eat anything. I'll just have some gumbo.
Oh, and then
right,
he
accidentally killed somebody.
He done accidentally killed somebody.
Then killed himself.
You said that pie.
It's something going around.
Oh my God. Yeah,
and who was sneaky was the what was the name of the guy that ran the shop over in the other town that came and approached him and was like, you might want to be careful hanging around here and getting your hair cut.
Oh, the one that go both ways. Yeah,
but was all talking bad about everybody. I can't think of his name right now. But
he had the club. He had the club, and he said he let them come in.
Okay, yeah.
As long as they behaved themselves, but it was a shame. And then the dude told him his true story.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, another lie.
Another lie. Right.
There was some serious lying going on. And Mary, you just wrote it so well, but because it was like, how can she keep all these lies straight? And how can he keep all the lies straight? And remember, and sometimes they would slip up. And
they would.
Now they told, and then they would do self-correction. And it was, now I noticed one thing I noticed, because it was told in the first person for each of the people, you used incorrect grammar because they were talking. It was like they were thinking. It was their thoughts.
Yeah, right.
First person thoughts. So I noticed that, and I said, well, I guess she had to do it that way.
But that's the way they.
I understood that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the way they talk, and that's the way they talk.
If you speak a certain way, you're not gonna think in a totally. I mean, these people didn't have much education,
right?
And even some of the ones that did finish school and whatnot, they still spoke. That's a dialect. So
Right. And I got it, but I tend to incorrect grammar distracts me, so I had to talk to myself about it. That's just a little quirk I have.
Well, no, but I understand that
contradiction though. If they had,
it's interesting that you say that, because the first time I had my daughter read Their Eyes Were Watching God, she was so frustrated because of the dialect writing. She said, why did she have to talk like that? Why did she have to write with a Southern accent? Why can't you just say they had a Southern accent? And she was so frustrated reading that book. And
that was hard to read. I agree.
Yeah,
it was a really good book though.
Yeah, it was it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's one of mine too.
If you're writing about characters in a certain location in a certain time period,
you have to use that vernacular.
They're not going to speak like Queen Elizabeth or somebody.
Exactly. Look, the first time I read The Color Purple, I couldn't get through it. I couldn't get through it. I couldn't get through it. I couldn't get through the vernacular. I couldn't get through it. And so I tried twice. I tried again, and I still wasn't ready. So at the time I read the book, I was living in this apartment, and it was hot, And did I have air? I don't think so, right? I remember laying on a pallet on the floor in the heat, and some kind of way, because of the situation that I was in, it was in the summer. When I picked that book up and started reading it, I felt like I was right there. And then I could get into that vernacular, I could get into I laid on the pallet on that floor and read that book in the heat. like I was, you know, it's like I had to kind of be in that state of mind.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not referring to the dialogue, because I know dialogue is going to be based on that. But even the narrative, the narration, when they were their thoughts were in there.
Well, I think that I'm only. I can't speak for. Yeah. No, I get it, because it didn't bother me because I understood that the characters were narrating their own.
Right.
They were using right. So it wasn't like a third party that was coming in and filling you in after their discussion. They were really narrating it. So they were narrating it from what they
in their language.
Yeah. I got that. Yeah, I got that.
And that's a style thing, Mary, because I think you're one of the few authors that does that. Because most of the time, the dialogue is where the dialect is, not the other
narration.
You're writing in the third person. That's what you're writing in the third person with narrative.
Right. That makes sense.
These are the characters talking and thinking.
Yeah. So you do a really, really good job with creating this picture, painting the picture and developing your characters and making a person visualize what Jesse must have looked like and what Hubert looked like.
And how crazy Blondine looked standing at the end of that bed.
Oh my God.
In her wig hat.
In her wig hat.
What's a wig hat? That's what I'm
and when I was reading,
it took me a minute to realize, it's a wig.
It's a wig. Well, see, y'all say wig, we say wig hat.
Okay.
Oh.
It took me, I said, wig hat. Then I said, it's a wig. It's just a wig.
I thought it was a hat. I thought it was a hat
with a wig attached to it.
With two attached to it.
No.
Well, thank you for explaining that, because I didn't know what it was.
I figured it out. I said, it's a wig. It's a wig. It's a wig. I did figure that out. That is funny.
It was the whole story was good. And the fact that Hubert was always trying to figure out how to get away from Jesse to go to Hartville.
Right.
And he came up with so many different stories for why he had to go.
It's ridiculous.
Somebody died that he knew I think when he went to visit the person, they were like on their deathbed, and then while he was there, they died, and then so he stayed longer or something.
He was going to Hartville anyway before he got with Leroy, because that's where the town he lived in didn't have the products he needed for his undertaking business. So he did have legitimate reasons
to go there, right?
He'd go get the embalming fluid or whatever, and then he'd go, and and since it was out of town, he would spend the night. This was 50 miles away. So that gave him a good excuse to spend the night, or I went to see a sick teacher, or somebody used to be a teacher and she was dying. So his excuses were.
I tell you what, he was smart because she wanted to go. She always wanted to go.
I was gonna say that.
And when he finally took her and made her have that worst experience in her life, he said, "She on that one though. You don't have to bring me back here no more."
That's what a man like him would do.
Right.
Yes.
He was like, "Well, I don't have to worry about that no more." Oh gosh.
A lot of people said, well, if Leroy had an ex-wife and kids and that, why couldn't Hubert? Yeah, see, I can't speak for gay people or bisexual people or whatever. Some people who are bisexual or gay will get married and do it and do the things that a normal married couple would do. Some don't. Hubert was in the category of ones who just couldn't bring themselves to be attracted to a woman, not physically, sexually.
Right. Now, one of my disconnects was, because it kept talking about how, you couldn't, his physicality, you couldn't tell, you couldn't tell like you couldn't tell Leroy, you couldn't tell. But you had him doing stuff that if anybody just looked a little hard at, the feigning, oh my God, I was like, I can't connect those two because his mannerisms to me would just give him away,
You notice he only fainted around his mom and dad. He didn't faint in public. And they're not going, their last thing on their mind is that
is something wrong with him. But I was like, oh my God, he's fainting and oh my God.
And I was surprised that Maggie, and I don't remember this from Mrs. Wiggins. It may have been in there, but I don't remember it. But Jesse referred to it several times, and somebody else did too. And they were saying that Maggie was telling people what a specimen, his physical sexual prowess was so good. I don't remember her telling people that in the first book.
She mentioned it to Jesse, only in passing,
Oh, okay. But in this book, they talked about it often.
Jesse talked about it. Jesse talked about it.
But somebody else mentioned it too.
But see, there were things that couldn't put everything in Mrs. Wiggins.
I know, it was just funny to me.
Jesse's telling her story. She's reflecting on all the times Maggie bragged about what a great lover.
Right. She like, I want some of that.
But it wasn't mentioned that often in Mrs. Wiggins. But since Jesse's married to him now and she's reflecting on all the times Maggie bragged about him in the bedroom and this and that. So that's why she thought, oh, this thing is just temporary. I'm gonna find out what Jesse said.
But the same rules applies today. That's why you don't be telling people. You don't be telling your friends that.
Don't tell them. You right, Royce. You right. You better tell some, keep some.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, because in the reflecting part, Maggie was basically a saint, and Hubert was a hunk, like a
right, exactly. It was like they had the perfect marriage.
Right.
They had the perfect marriage. So somebody from the outside is looking and coveting and envying, and they don't even know what they look because it's not real, but they don't know that.
They don't know that.
Right, that's what I'm saying. They don't know that. And so all those other women bringing him food and trying to be the next Mrs. Wiggins, they think he the catch of the week.
And when he didn't know, it was funny because when he didn't know what he was gonna do, when she was trying to get in, well, I'll fix this, I'll come and I'll clean, but no, you don't have to do that. Somebody else is gonna do this, or somebody else is gonna do that. It's like, but that's how it is in the church too. When somebody loses somebody and they find out that somebody is a widower.
Oh my gosh.
Lord Jesus.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they all go after him.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Well, he had them lined up because they were doing it.
He had them lined up.
He did. And then his parents, they wanted him to have another wife. They didn't want him to be lonely and
right.
This and that. They was trying to set him up, but he was doing all right on his own.
Yeah, he was.
I gotta admit, that bothered me reading the book. The way those women would literally slave all day, working in the nursing home, working whatever, maids, and then come home and cook and clean for him.
Right.
That bothered me. It's like, oh my God.
Well, he was paying Jesse. Remember, he was paying her?
Yeah, he was paying Jesse.
$5 a week.
He gave her a promotion too. I think he gave her a little more money, Yeah.
So she was setting her trap. She was thinking, here he's the most respected Black man in town, most prestigious family.
Her sister said, you better get your life together and get that man.
You look, step up your game.
She was looking at him as a friend.
She
said, you better, friend my butt. You better go ahead and get that man.
And that's why she got real aggressive,
She did, yeah.
So I'm going after
that
him.
Sister might be right. She on to something.
And everybody thought he was an awesome catch.
Oh yeah.
He was.
Well, how does that song go? But when we get behind closed doors.
Right, right.
Totally different story. But see, they didn't know that. They didn't know it was totally, he wasn't what he appeared to be.
Right, exactly.
And most people aren't. Most men
They're
aren't.
not, exactly. They're
No.
not. They're not.
Well, some of us
You
are
better
not
be
too.
careful for,
Some
you
of
know,
us are
what
out
you,
there like that too.
huh?
I said some women are like that too.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
That is true.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know.
Remember he said it would have been perfect if he could have found a woman who liked women.
Yeah.
He said it would have been perfect if he could have found a woman who liked women. You know, he knew he had to be bothered. They never had to be bothered with that.
Right. So the whole thing was
could be just a sham.
public for a show.
Yeah.
The whole relationship was just a sham, but they were both leading double lives.
Right.
Quadruple life, I guess. But they
they got to keep telling lies to cover up lies. And so once you start lying, it's a never-ending process. You know, you got to tell new lies, old lies. Then you got to cover. You know, sometimes the old lies will come back to haunt you, and you got to think of some new ones. So it's not easy.
No, and then you got to remember the lies you told. It's just too much. I don't know how people do it.
See, they got real good at it. You know, when they would make a slip up, they would clean it up real good and all that.
Clean it up quickly.
They were really good at that. When they would make a mistake, they catch themselves.
They would.
And I was like, gone. Yeah. Yeah, so you done down this road before. They make that slip up and then they just quick before you really could notice. Well, what did you say? And they done gone on with a different part of it. And you don't even know what happened.
Yeah, because Jessie would say, you know, in her musings, you know, how how outlandish this lie was, and she had no guilt or no conscience about it at all. She didn't care.
No. Right. Even when she came home and she said the white woman, the nurse, the white woman from her job brought her home. And they were like, wait a minute.
Who doing that around here?
Like the white woman brought you home?
He said, I never had no white person in my house.
In my house, this is true. We would be in their houses, but they wouldn't be in our houses. And that is true. Because my mother, who grew up in a rural area, she used to tell us about how the white people that they cook for or they did work for, they could never sit at the same table and eat together.
Never.
They would always have to go in another room and eat.
They eat in the kitchen or on the back porch.
Yeah.
Y'all saw the movie The Help. Y'all know how that go.
Yeah, but that was what my mother told me before The Help. This was her own real life experience.
Absolutely.
She grew up in a small town, North Carolina, country town. And the social lines weren't crossed. You know, you didn't do any social things with white people.
Right.
Yeah. But you know, there's always exceptions to the rule, because the lady that Maggie worked for didn't fit the mold of what most white people were like back then. You know, she was a wealthy, generous white lady who thought everybody was equal. And she made Maggie come in the front door, and she went to the church and bought new pews for them, this and that. Most white people wouldn't do that. But she was the kind of lady who didn't care. I'm gonna do what I want to do. And that's exactly what she did. That's why Maggie didn't want to lose that job.
And hence why she killed the brother.
The
brother was in there doing craziness.
So Maggie,
right.
were real close friends. But at the end of the day, if her brother had went to her and told her all these lies that Maggie, I saw her stealing your purse and this, that, and that, white people gonna be white.
Right, exactly.
I don't think that Mrs. Dowler would have taken Maggie's side if her brother had come and told her all these lies. She would have to defend him.
Right, and Maggie knew that. She understood that. Yes, she did.
You know, they can be your best friend, but only up to a point.
Yeah.
Right. You know, once you cross, there's certain lines they won't cross. So colored people, Black people, and that's exactly what happened in her case.
So do you have a title for the third installment? And
yeah, it's already in production. We're
it's already in production.
Find models for the cover. Yeah, it's called Love, Honor, Betray.
Okay.
Love, honor, betray.
Honor, betray.
Yeah, that brings all to the other two
All the
books
secrets
together.
gonna come out. You know, people said, well, is everybody gonna find? No, everybody's not gonna find out he was gay. He's not gonna run up and down the street or go out and admit it. But you'll see, you know, like I said, you got to read it to find out how they get to that point of where his sexuality comes out and all the double lives merge and all the other stuff. And the murderer, the person responsible for the murders of the Black women, all that's gonna be revealed in the third book.
In book 3. Then did you write all of these at one time? And
no, I had the original idea when I submitted the proposal to my publisher, and they said, well, this is a big story. You can't tell it all in one book. So that's when we decided to make it 3 books. So that's why Mrs. Wiggins was her story, and Uvalde is his story, and the new Mrs. Wiggins in the third book will be Jesse and Hubert's story.
So that's why you're able to write those books so close together. You basically already have the stories.
Yeah, well, I have the ending. I have the very last chapter already in with all of my books. I usually have an ending before I start with the ending, then I find a beginning, and I just fill it in. And I just build a story around the characters. What type of characters would be doing certain things? And just go there. And then you're still rewriting up until you turn the book in. Because I wrote certain chapters at 6, 7, 8 times. And then once it gets to the publisher, they might come back and say, well, we want you to change this and we want you to change that. That's why I don't want to give away certain parts, because I don't know if that's going to be in the final edition.
Oh, we don't want you to give it away, because then they give it a reason.
People got mad at me the other day on a Zoom meeting. Well, you can tell us. One guy said, well, I'm going to get the book and I'm going to read the last chapter. And I said, well, if you read the last chapter to find out who did the killing, it's not in the last chapter. It's toward the end of the story, but it's not in the last chapter. But you're going to miss all the reasons that led up to that point.
Right.
And it's very important that you know why the killings were happening and who was responsible. And, you know, I know people who will skip ahead and, oh, I don't remember that. Yeah, because you didn't read the whole book.
Yeah, I have to tell you, sometimes, especially like if I'm pressed for time, I can read. I'll read forward.
And
if I'm pressed for time and I got to get the book finished before book club, I'll read the back. I'll read the last chapter. So I'll read like this.
I've done that before.
And because even if I'm at the last chapter, you know, I'm like, well, damn, really? How we get? So now I want to know how we got there. So even if so it doesn't kill, you know, it doesn't ruin it for me to know what happened at the end, because I still want to know how we got there. So I have read forward and backwards and ended up like this.
Yeah.
The book. I've done that.
It doesn't ruin it for me either. It doesn't, because I'm still going to get back and see, you know, what happened. And
I'm like, what?
Because sometimes I just want to know.
Yeah.
Go all the way to the back and read the discussion questions, because, you know, the discussion questions pretty much tell the story in a nutshell, you know, in some ways. And they'll say, oh, this is going to happen. Let's go back and read. Let me read the whole thing now. Yeah, they'll start with the discussion questions. Oh,
now I haven't done that.
Yeah.
But I will read from the last chapter backwards and from the first chapter forward.
Yeah,
I have never done that in my entire life. I've read thousands and thousands of books. I have never read the end, never.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
It depends on the book.
Depends on the book.
Either I'm gonna keep reading or I'm gonna stop reading. That's just what it is.
I do that with movies too.
Yeah.
Some movies that I'm watching, I'll say, okay, before I invest in the rest of this, let me see the end and see what's going to happen.
I've never done
I'll go to the end.
Really?
I'll say, oh, okay, I want to know how we got there. Or sometimes I get to the end and I'm like, I don't care. I'm not going to go back. But I've done that. I do that in the movie. I do that in
the movie. Now, there are some books I wish I had read the end, because if I
it would have saved you.
Yeah, that's why I put the book down. If it's not good by about page 50 or 60, like I said, I'm not going to keep going. So I don't need to read the end, because if it's not getting my attention from at least 50 or 60, I might go to page 100, depending on how long the book is.
Right.
But I don't read the end because I don't know. I've never even thought about doing that. I've heard people do it, but I never even considered doing it. So
yeah, people say, "Oh, that ruin it for you." I'm like, "Nah, not for me." Then
yes, people have different reading techniques,
Well,
especially if you read a lot. You know,
at least you know where it's going when you start at the end. Sometimes you miss a lot of important stuff by doing that.
Yeah.
That'll make
I would think it would ruin it. But I mean, everybody has their own reading style. And when you read a lot of different books, you know, my style is I'll stop reading if it doesn't capture my attention.
Well, I like to read so much because I read several books all my life. I was, you know, now with everything else going on, I'm able to read 2 or 3 books a week. So what I did about 25 years ago, I took a speed reading course. And that helped me with the boring books because when I was reading the Roots, I mean, it was something, I don't know if you're familiar with how speed reading works, but that helped me get through Roots and I got the whole story. It's like those Cliff Notes, you know. They tell you I'm a speed reader, but if I'm really enjoying a book, I want to read it. Some books I read as slowly as I
can. So you can savor it and enjoy it. Yeah.
Savor it.
There are actually some authors. I heard Victoria Christopher Murray say this one time that when readers came to her and said, "I read your book in 1 day or 2 days," she said she didn't like that because she wanted people to enjoy the book.
Savor it, yeah.
And she wanted them to savor it. And when you read it fast, it's just like what you say, Mary. When you read it fast, you're just trying to get through it.
Just get through it, right?
But sometimes it's not just trying to get through. Sometimes it's just so it makes you feel compelling
what you can't put it down because you want to see what happened next.
Right.
You just keep going. And I've had some books that at the end I was like not depressed, but I was like, dang, it's over.
Yeah.
I mean, I was so engrossed in the story that when it was over, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a good book.
And when I do that, then I won't
ends.
pick up. I won't pick a book up right immediately after that.
Yeah,
I need a little bit of time to savor that, experience, and then I'll pick up another book.
See, that's how I felt about Miss Wiggins. I was like, wow.
Okay, well, ladies, we are at the end of our discussion time, and I need to give away these autographed books. So are you all ready? Now, here are the guidelines for winning a book. You can answer the question either in the comments, or if you're on the Zoom, you can answer it in the chat. This has been a very lively discussion. So we've covered some of the information
we had.
It is the most lively book club kickback discussion we've had. And you all have actually answered two of the questions during the discussion. So somebody can probably do it fast. So, okay, you ready?
Yeah.
The first one is, Jesse's husband passed away. What was his name? You have to type it. You have to type it.
I'm sorry.
And the first person to type it gets the book.
Put it in the Facebook chat and not the Zoom.
Right. You can either put it in the comments on the.
I put it in the comments.
Or the chat.
I'll put it in the chat. I chatted.
Either one will work. But the first one, has anybody answered it yet?
Yeah,
I just did.
Yeah, the one I knew it was gonna be you.
Okay. Okay. So the answer
his name was Bay. It was Bay. Hey, Bay.
His name was Orville.
His name was Orville. Okay, here's the next one. There's a character in the book named Leroy, a friend of Hubert, or Hubbard, however you pronounce his name.
Hubert.
What type of business did Leroy own? Okay, barbershop is the right answer. Shauna got it, and I don't know if anybody else did online. No. Okay, here's the last one. So this is the way what to do. You're gonna, on Facebook, you need to DM us your mailing address. So
wait, we gotta see who got it because I think Kenya
Shayna got it.
Okay.
Shana or Shayna got it. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but
Shayna.
It's Shayna.
Because hers popped up immediately. I was
So
looking
are,
at
I'm
both.
sorry, are we supposed to be, again, I'm sorry, are we supposed to be typing online in Facebook or in the chat here in the Zoom?
Either one.
Okay,
If you're on the Zoom, you can type it in the chat.
all right.
If you're on the Facebook, you can put it in the comments. So I believe,
I think they were about the same time, but if you saw,
I saw Shayna
first, then we'll go for that.
first, because I was looking at my phone for
Okay.
that one. Okay, here's the last chance. Okay, ready? Hubert drove to Hartville to pick up a product that was essential to his business. What was it? And you have to it has to be spelled correctly.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Oh, well.
I think Kenya got it. Kenya got it on that one. It's embalming fluid.
Mhm.
That's the answer. Okay, so the winners need to DM their mailing addresses on the National Black Book Festival's Facebook page.
Okay, 1 minute. National.
So just go to National Black Book Festival. Say you won the autographed copy of the book. I know it's Shayna, Kenya, and who won the first one?
Angela.
Oh, Angela.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, DM us your address and we will mail you your autographed copy because Mary was so kind to. We have 3. They look 3, 1, 2, 3. We have 3 autographed books.
All right.
So these will go to you. And thank you all so much for participating.
I enjoyed the discussion.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
That hour
Thank
just
you.
went by too fast, though. We were just getting started.
That's the thing. Y'all the whole time, there were no lulls in the communication.
No, they weren't. So it was great. And the people who are watching it online said it's great. It was the bomb. That's what they said.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
nice.
And I want to do
we're-
it again with the next book when it's coming out in March.
Okay, well, we do this 4 times a year. So
Okay.
the next one we do will probably be in the fall for this year, and then we'll start working on next year. So
Okay.
thank you all for participating.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. Good night,
Thank you,
everybody.
Mary,
Good
for your
night.
great
Thank you,
writing.
everybody.
And this is the end of our show for Black Authors Matter TV. We'll see you next week at 7. I'm Gwen Richardson signing off.
And I'm your host, your second host, Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Hey.
And good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.